Hello, hello. I'm live. I'm back after 2 weeks off from doing the live videos, mainly because I got walloped by the flu. Like I've never gotten walloped by the flu or cold or anything like that before. But, we persevere, we endure. So let's see who's on. Lori, good afternoon, good morning, and good afternoon, since it's just entering the afternoon time. Say hello so I can see if my comments are working today. You know how that goes. My beautiful wife, thanks for joining me. I know I got 4 viewers, I see 2. Tom, thanks for joining. Got a good topic for you guys today. You're gonna like this one. Eileen, thank you for joining. So I'm not seeing any comments yet, so I'm assuming my comments aren't working, but that's not gonna stop me. I'm still gonna do my video and then I'll check the comments afterwards. I don't know why that happens sometimes, where I see the comments and then sometimes I don't. But that's okay. We shall roll with the punches, such is life. So we'll give everybody about 1 more minute and then we'll get going. Coming to you from my USK corporate headquarters, home office. I'm actually working outside right now. Sometimes when I'm inside, I just get, I get very like stuffy and antsy, and I need to get out. So coming to you guys from my my new outdoor kitchen that we had built here a couple weeks ago, that I really love. So it gives me good energy, gets my thoughts going, clarity, All right, so let's do this. This is a big topic. This is a heavy duty topic. I got 10 points for you guys today on this topic. This is probably going to be a video that you're going to want to rewatch. Letting go of the past. Everybody goes through this. Most people go through this multiple times in their life, where they have something traumatic that's happened to them, or difficult, or highly emotional. And these are just some points of things that I've learned that have helped me, that were passed on to me by people far smarter than I am. So I hope you guys enjoy this stuff. I've been putting it together for about a week now, researching it and trying to remember all the things I've learned about it from the different books I've read, the mentors I've spoken to, the doctors. So let's get into it. 10 things to help us let go of the past. I'd like to make one point about this and tie in the martial arts component right from the beginning, and then we'll get into the points. So in Tang Soo Do, we practice the concept, as most of you know, because most of the people on this call are students of Mudo. Mudo means the martial way. And the point of Mudo, the martial way, is the way of peace. And that we achieve this peace through disciplined practice and awareness. And ultimately, by understanding that all conflict starts and stops inside of us. And that you'll see that theme pop up a lot here in the points that I'm going to bring up. And by understanding that all conflict starts and stops inside of us, ultimately we therefore gain the power to take more control of our life. A lot of us live in a state where we believe that we are a victim, we don't have control, we are a victim of circumstance. And while circumstance does happen to all of us, we have to choose whether or not we are a victim of it, or if we are going to negotiate and roll with those circumstances. I choose to roll and negotiate with the circumstance and not to be a victim. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't make it difficult sometimes to negotiate. Just like if you're doing a really, really sophisticated business deal that can take months or years to work out, those things can be difficult and stressful and trying. So, the understanding here is that what I'm going to go over with you in these 10 points is not something that you snap your fingers and say, oh, I get it, I've learned it, I understand it intellectually. These are all disciplined practice things that we need to really spend a lot of time on and get better at. It's no different than if we're a writer, we have to practice writing. If we're a martial artist, we practice our technique and we practice our awareness of ourselves and our environment to become better. Okay, so remember that the point of Tang Soo Do is Mudo, the martial way, the way of discipline, and the discipline is there to help us develop the tools and techniques we need to take responsibility for our lives, and then learn from that. So those are very interesting. And for those of you guys that are just joining on, thanks for joining. Make sure that you go back and listen to the beginning of this video as we move through these next 10 points. Here we go. This is a big one. The past isn't really the past, or it's not, this whole thing about letting go about the past isn't really about letting go about the past, because you can't do that, right? In order for us to deal with something, it has to be here in front of us right now. We are not capable at this point in time of jumping in a time machine and going back and dealing with the past. Now that was a huge revelation for me when I was reading and researching this topic, and as I have been in my life, that we can't go back and deal with the past. And that really was a profound point that struck me and said, wow, wait a second. I can't deal with the past, but we keep talking in those terms, like we need to deal with our past. So first things first, let's understand that you can't deal with the past. What you can deal with are the feelings that you have right now about your past. I'm going to say that again. The feelings that you have right now about your past are the things that we're going to talk about and deal with. Because you can't go back in time and change the events that helped to facilitate or create those feelings inside of you. The anger, the hurt, the resentment, the frustration, the trauma that you feel, keyword that you feel right now, is simply a feeling that you have given power to in this moment. Your present feelings are what keeps the past alive. I'm going to say that again. Your present feelings are what's keeping the past alive. It's point number one, guys. Let's move on to number two. And again, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do here. I'm going to bring up these points, and all of you are, I know everyone on this call, I can see everyone. All of you who are on this call are, so I respect all of you highly, and you're extremely intelligent, so you'll be able to take these points and figure it out and do what you need to do with it, because all of you are that smart. Excuse me. Your memory of the past is not the problem. We all say, oh, I have these painful memories. No, your memories are not the problem, okay? Your memories are nothing more than thoughts, and thoughts have zero meaning and power unless you give it to them through your belief system. I want you guys to think about that for a second. Your thoughts and your memories have no power. They're not real unless you put a belief system behind those memories or thoughts. That's what gives them meaning, that makes us hold on to them and to continue to feel the anger, the frustration, the resentment, whatever it is that you're going through. Things that we say or do that help to continue to give those memories beliefs, memories power through beliefs, are saying things like, well, I'm justified in my thinking. Using speech like that all the time gives those memories and thoughts power. So in order to take the power away from those memories, we need to change the belief system that we have, or the paradigm that we have behind those thoughts. All right, let me change here over to my next page of notes. I took lots of notes here for this one. If we detach from those powerful belief systems and examine the belief system, not the memory, because we keep re-examining the memory, we keep reliving the memory. How about we stop and examine the belief system that keeps giving the memory power? Right? That would be really cool. All right, let's move on to tip number 3, because I've got 10 of them and I don't want to take 2 hours on this call because I know most of you are at lunch. Tip number 3 is, what does healing mean? Let's define what it means to heal. Healing, based on what I've researched and talking to the people that I think are brilliant and look up to, and some of them I've never met before, but I've read their books and their books are amazing. Healing means letting go of thoughts and feelings so they don't impact you. So the next question is, okay, well, how the heck do I let go of my thoughts and my feelings? Well, in order to let go of the feelings, you have to let go of the belief system that you've created that gives those feelings power, right? So let's go. I think you'll get this point better if I illustrate for you what not to do, all right? So here's your goal or goals of things that you should not do. Make yourself forget about the past. That ain't gonna happen. If people tell you, just let it go, just forget about it. Wrong, not gonna happen. We're human beings, we're not capable of just forgetting about things. It is perfectly okay to remember what has happened to you. All right, we'll come back to that a little bit later. Stuff or ignore your feelings. So just not dealing with it, not looking at it, not making the decision that you've reached a point in your life where it's time to deal with your feelings and deal with the paradigms and belief structures you've set up that gives those feelings power. Waiting for an apology or acknowledgement from someone else that they did you wrong, right? Like the person that hurt you 15 years ago that you haven't seen in 15 years is going to pick up the phone and call you and apologize. But deep down inside, we're waiting for that because our belief system says that we can't let go of something until somebody says, I'm sorry, right? Waiting for time to heal the wounds. There may not be enough time. So that's another thing that you want to try and avoid. Wallowing endlessly in your emotions, constantly reliving the past and thinking about what happened and reliving those moments, all things that we want to try and avoid. Again, that goes back to we can't go back in time and actually do anything about what happened, but we can do something about the feelings that we're having right now about what happened to us a year ago, 5 years ago, 20, 30, 50 years ago, whatever it may be. So let's move on to number 4 now. Making a decision. I've noticed a pattern in my life. Maybe you can relate to this. That the biggest things that have happened in my life happened when I got to a point where I said, "That's it. I can't deal with this anymore. We're not going to do it this way anymore. I can't take it anymore." I've seen those things happen a lot in all different areas of my life, in my business. Excuse me. I've seen them happen. I'll give you one that we're dealing with right now. Right, my 6-year-old Jason is learning how to sleep in his bed overnight. Right, so we've been dealing since the time he started walking. He started walking at 11 and a half months old. So 5 years now. Where he will get up in the middle of the night and come sleep in our bed and wake us up, and that whole thing. So I don't get the good sleep and rest that I need or that my wife needs. So we're dealing with that right now, right? Just 2-3 weeks ago, my wife and I got to a point where I got to a point where I said, enough is enough. Cannot do this anymore. The lack of sleep is affecting me. And it was that moment where I made the decision. And once I made the decision, the energy came behind it that I started the research and we started putting plans together to figure out what we're going to do. So we're now a week into this, and my son has now slept 5 straight nights in his bed. I'm not going to get into all the techniques we did because that's not the point of the video, but the point of this is a decision was made due to the frustration where I said, enough is enough. This has to change. And then the energy was put into the science and the intelligence of how to make it happen. Up until that point, it was just dealing with emotions. It was dealing with the frustration of the process with our son. Once we decided that we weren't going to be victims to the frustration anymore, we shifted our energy to the solving the problem. So that's a big thing here in point number 4, is just making the decision that enough is enough. I don't want to live this way anymore. All right? Number 5. You really get a big jump start after you make this decision on healing and moving on when you realize that it's really all your fault. And I know for a lot of people, especially when you're dealing with highly traumatic things, especially where somebody else really did you wrong. And by the way, we've all been done wrong. I've been screwed over pretty bad in my life. I've given generously to people who've not I mean, I guess they screwed me over after I did it for them. So we've all had, our different levels of stuff happen to us in our life. But it's important to understand that in order to get a jump start on letting go, we have to understand that it is our feelings right now. It's not their feelings. We can't go to them and say, hey, change your feelings, and then I'm going to feel better about what happened. Remember, we have the power to deal with what we're feeling right now. And what we're feeling right now is really the past. The feelings we have in the present is the past. The problem is we haven't made that distinction yet in our life. Once you understand that the ball is totally in your court, you really start the process of the letting go, and understanding that we're no longer the victim, because the victim part did happen to us. It's not like we weren't victims. When we were wronged or screwed over, that did happen to us in the past, right? But right now, it's over. We're not experiencing, that person isn't right in front of us hurting us right now. What we're left with are the feelings. And the feelings we can attack. We can go after them, and we can process them and move through them. So we need to make that distinction. Remember that being a victim is a passive emotion that we can't do anything about. But if we decide that we want to deal with it, now we make the decision, and decision makers are action takers, right? Making a decision is an action, right? We need to understand that. Number 6, please stop telling the story over and over again. Because every time we tell the story, we are going back and reliving the past and the feelings without any power to change it, right? So it's not like by telling the story that we're able to change the facts of what happened. We can change the way that we look at the past, right? We can change the way that we experience the past through those stories. And some of you may have experienced this in your life, where as the years go on, you're able to tell the story, and for some reason the story feels different to you as the years go on, but you're continuing to tell the same story. We need to stop doing that. Notice how entranced you can become when you tell a story. Think about that for a moment. That is purely emotional, right? And we need to make that distinction and say, wait a second, I'm going to stop giving this power by stop telling this story and start to let it go, right? Number 7, your beliefs about healing things can get in the way about letting go of these feelings in the past. Some of the things that we say can be things like, I feel justified in staying stuck where I'm at because I was wronged, right? Yeah, you may be totally justified in that you were wrong. Yes, that's a fact. You were wrong. Someone did you dirty, right? But we need to let go of the speech, because the speech continues to give the other person power. It's someone else's responsibility to make this right. It's not my responsibility. I wasn't wrong. They need to make it right. Need to let that go. If I let it go, I'm somehow approving what they did or someone's bad behavior, right? Let it go. I need an apology from them. Let it go. Life is unfair. Let it go. It was so bad that it's not possible for me to heal. These are all speech patterns that if you continue to give them power, they will continue to have power over you, right? We talked about that in the beginning of the video. Number 8, relationships and troubles relate to your past. This is about moving from emotion to intelligence, and using intelligence to sort and process things, and making that distinction of, wait a second, I can't relive the past. All I can live through right now, moment after moment after moment, is the feelings. So understanding that we have a relationship to our feelings and how we're going to alter that relationship and proceed forward is very important. Think about this for a second, and this is just a random note I wrote down here. Think about your feelings as being like a tangled electric cord. I have a couple of electric cords in my garage that are over 100 feet long. And I remember one time letting somebody borrow that cord, and they gave it back to me, and it was like I couldn't believe that they didn't take the time to roll the cord back up. But when I got the cord back, it was so terribly tangled that I actually didn't deal with it because I was so upset about how they gave it back to me that I just left it in my garage. What's interesting is that when I did finally address the cord and how badly it was tangled, it took me probably 45 minutes of focused attention to untangle the wires. And what was interesting about how, you know, if you've untangled the cord, how you have to like sometimes bring the cord back through a loop, right? And then untangle and then bring that same cord back through. You're constantly having to go back through a loop to untangle it. That's a lot what our feelings are like, right? We have to constantly give it a focused attention and understand we're going to have to go backwards in time to understand what somebody did that made us feel the way we feel now, so that we could process through it and decide to let that cord, that tangled knot go. Number 9, this is really about, as I said, moving from emotional to an intelligent process, and understanding that we're going to focus our attention on our energy on our current belief system that we've adopted, give it focused energy and attention, and untangle that belief system to get to a very intelligent belief system that will help us to let go of the past. That's a big point, guys. That's a really big one. And this process, ultimately, number 10, the last point, is going to help you figure out who you really are and what you believe in, and then that will alter the way that you feel about things. And therefore, will help you to decide, I don't feel that way anymore. Right? It's not that the past didn't happen to you. It's not that someone didn't do you wrong and poof, it's going to go away. No, that person that hurt you or that thing that did you wrong is always going to be there in your past. But the way you feel right now, every single moment you're reborn. Think about it. Your life starts right now. Guess what? It just started again. Guess what? Your life just started right now. Hey, guess what? It's a new moment. Your life just started right now. And that gives you power to constantly restart. Every single moment of your life, you are starting again. You have to make a choice if you want to live in the past and in the feelings, or if you want to live in an intellectual present where you construct your belief systems. You have the opportunity in your life to construct your belief systems. All right? I hope that you guys found this video at least thought-provoking, and that it will encourage you to go back, rewatch it, listen to the 10 points, and start to process through these things. Like I said, for me, the biggest takeaway in my studies was that I actually can't go back and do anything about the past. When everyone around me says, well, you've got to let it go. You can't let go of something that's not in front of you. Guys, I have these pieces of papers. They're in my hands. In this moment, they're in my hand. I can let it go. But I cannot go back in time and let go of what happened to me 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. I can't do it. Neither can you. But what I can do is decide how I'm going to look at the past. All right? I didn't see anybody's comments. Again, I don't know why, but I'll go back and read them now. And if you have any questions or if you want to message me, I hope this was helpful. I'll see you guys around. Thanks so much. Take care.